Right, and welcome to lesson 3 of my wax tutorial, the final lesson in this series. And in this lesson we're going to be creating a slightly more complicated video clip and hopefully a slightly more entertaining one as well. Now I've already got the project all set up here, so I'll just add the files, and oh, those are rather telling, aren't they? So we've got 3 media assets here. We've got, come on, there we go. We've got Mario charging towards his fate and dying. We've got Mario standing around waiting for the time to run out and dying. Yes. And we have Sonic spin dashing perpetually. Now, I know that looks a bit crap at the moment. It is in fact about that big, but I don't know why Wax operates this way, but there's a slight problem with what we are going to do with using it thusly, so it's going to have to be like that, but I'll explain when we get to that part of the editing. Now, the first thing we want to do is to trim down the Mario Death 1 video, because we really don't need this bit for what we're going to do. We just want it from pretty much that bit onwards. So there. That's where we want it. So we trim the video and we trim the audio. Put it down there, get that ready, and play. There we go. That'll do nicely. Now, with Mario Death 2 AVI, what we want is basically, as I'm sure you've probably worked out, to match this audio clip up with what we see in this video clip. So what we want is for the death music to kick off when Mario dies there. So we get our scrubber to the right frame, which is there. Reduce it, move it along a little bit, but just find the right place along here, which is there. Match it, extend it to the start. Just crop that a bit so we don't leave that in. Right, and pretty seamless, I think. So we're most of the way there right now, but of course the thing is, right now, as far as we're concerned, the level has just started. Mario's got 5 seconds to do something, and he doesn't do anything. That's not quite what we're after. What we really want is the timer, which we can see by hiding this, from Mario Death 1, but we want the action of Mario Death 2. How can we achieve this? By going to video plugins and using good old Quick 3D. Drag and drop that onto Mario Death 2. Now, looking down here, there are 4 crop options, left, top, right and bottom. What we want to do is crop the top a bit. And as you can see, right about there ought to do it. And now if we hit play, it's not exactly seamless because you can see this line here, but for our purposes at the moment I think that's not too shabby. Of course, the downside here is that Mario Death 1 fades in, but Mario Death 2 does not. So how do we deal with that one? Well, we just make Mario Death 2 fade in, and we do this with a bit of keyframing. This button here presents us with properties for the track, including, perfectly enough, opacity. Opacity is as it suggests, how opaque something is. If something is 100% opaque, you cannot see through it. If something is 0% opaque, you can see through it. This button here will start keyframing. So we want a nice smooth. Let's see what smooth does. Keyframe there, and the first keyframe has got to be 0. We'll move the scrubber along until Mario Death 1 is fully faded in, which is there. Now we crank the keyframe up to 100 and hit play, and that's not too shabby. So already we've got something that doesn't look too bad. Of course, it does just look like the level starts and Mario dies for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. So, what next? Yes, I'm sure you've guessed by now. Next is to put in the hedgehog. Right, so drag and drop. We don't need quite that much of the hedgehog, so we'll trim him to match the... Right, so the reason why we won't... I'll just move this on so it's a bit more obvious. Why we won't be using that option is because when we add quick 3D and then attempt to alter his X and Y positions, for some reason he can't go outside this frame, as in the size of his own personal frame, which is annoying. So drag and drop chroma key to get rid of a majority of this blackness. So it tolerance for about 11 actually, that ought to do it. Then drag and drop quick 3D. Now, after much trial and error, for what I've got, 0.125 in scale should be more than sufficient. Now, just get this lined up in X, because at the start of this video we want the hedgehog, whoops, wrong way, to be up there somewhere. And yes, we're going to be doing a bit more keyframing. So, just go again for a linear. Now, the hedgehog needs to start off screen here, and he doesn't need to connect to the plumber until here. So, this being the case, we drop the hedgehog down, and as you can see, Wax handily puts in the other bit of keyframing. I think we'll make that 330. Oh, that's good. I think. Right, let's play that. Yeah, but that's a bit too slow, I think, for the hedgehog coming down. So, click on the keyframe, and I think if we make it about, what is that? It's about half a second. Right. Just so all the previewing is done. And not too bad, except, yep, you guessed it, the hedgehog stays visible even as everything else fades out. So, yep, you guessed it, a bit more keyframing is required. I think we know what to do now. Track properties, opacity, linear, why not? Needs to be 100 there. Ooh, hang on. There, but by the end there, we need opacity to be 0. So now, if we give it a quick playthrough, despite the slight jerkiness, hits the plumber and fades out. So, I think that should about do it. Let's render. Right, rendered. Let's go find our video, see how it turned out. Let's maximize this. The Wax tutorial. Lesson 3 project.avi. Open with Windows Media Player. And that bombshell concludes the Wax tutorial. With any luck, it was informative and easy to follow, and hopefully this will serve as a good head start for anyone who's never used anything more complicated than Windows Movie Maker. Just remember the 3 P's: practice, practice, practice. Keep on rocking in the free world.